Welcome to the Empower Me Show with Pam Bright. This show is all about honoring you as a spiritual being having a human experience. You are here for a reason, and it's no mistake that you are here on Earth right now. Spirit has guided you to this very moment in time, so you could hear the messages Pam is about to share with you. She is a multidimensional healer, light language channel, transformation coach, wife, and mother, committed to helping you discover the tools and practices to empower you to live the best life you can. You get to choose the spirit path you take. You can connect to the spiritual guidance already all around you. Get ready to live a fully empowered life. This is the Empower Me Show.
Welcome back to the Empower Me Show. My name is Pam Bright. I'm so glad you're here. I'm here with my new special guest and new friend, actually. Her name is Carrie Doubts. She is a resiliency coach, and she really helps people to move through grief and loss with empowerment and power within as well as without, getting the support that you need in every moment, and really how to move through the transitions in our lives that really can get us stopped and not able to move forward. So welcome, Carrie, to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
And yes, so we are going to talk to Carrie in just a little bit. I wanted to invite you all into this moment in time and really help us by grounding us into this moment, helping you to release anything that might be in your way from really listening to everything that's said in this show from the heart space, because I believe when we're in the heart space, we really can get to a place of safety. And when we're dealing with grief and loss, it's really imperative, in my opinion, to, and it's only my opinion, but I think also in the world of emotional health, that it's important that we have a place of safety when going through grief and loss. Because when we feel safe, we're more likely to trust. And trust, I think, is the key to being able to move through transitions in a way that moves us forward in life rather than getting us stuck. So without further ado, I will allow us to now take just a couple minutes using our breathing, using our connection to source and to our guidance to disconnect from everything else that we're doing right now. And if you need to be conscious during this transmission, it's okay. Just simply know that as you listen to my voice and the sounds that come through me, that you will receive exactly what you need, because you are in control of who you are in every moment. So I'm going to actually close my eyes because I can do that safely and without distraction. And I now invite all of my guides, teachers, and angels into this vortex of energy. I invite you to do the same. If you can take some breaths and close your eyes, that's awesome. And just listen to your breathing coming in and out of your lungs, allowing you to center in to that still point, the place of knowing, the place of wisdom, the place of receiving exactly what you need in this moment. And so, Creator of all that is, I now ask that you create a beautiful vortex for us to be within in the next hour, allowing all wisdom, strength, hope, courage, inquisitive natures to step forth. And especially those who are in a place of grieving and a place of loss, not only that they've lost a person, an animal, a job, whatever they've lost, but really feel lost in the world. We ask those beings, those humans, to come forth now. And we bring you all into this place of love and light, into this vortex. And I ask the angels that guide over us and take care of us to enter into this space. And I now ask Gaia, the Earth Mother, to assist us in knowing that it's safe to be in a human body. That this is our grand adventure that we've chosen now. And that we have all the support that we could ever want or need. And I now ask the light language beings to work through me for all of you, for all of us. Nasana etera etete nututu namayasi. Onde sana mayate ku ala chechesa. Ne sanaya sateki hu nasane. Yasana mayatariti namayasu. Nana se nana yeke aye. Na enana e nana e nana. Na ke nana ke nana ke nana. E nana ye aye na mama ya. E mama ye e. So I invite all of you who are listening that the brain is trying to figure out what's being spoken or heard with your ears. Know that your heart receives this language and knows how to use it. Asane asanene anana ena e ena hu nana ye asana yesana ye 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 asana yese asana yese. So we now ask the angels to bring all of your energies into the people that are needing to be loved and cherished and nurtured and safe in this moment. Thank you that it is done. And we now ask that you bring your breath right up into your heart space, knowing it will fill you up, connect you into the cosmos, allowing the cosmos energy to come back into your heart space. And when you're ready, you can then come back and open your eyes. Welcome back. Hello, hello. All right, so we are here with Carrie Doubts, who's going to speak to us about how do we transition in this world with all of the obstacles, all of the challenges, all of the stuff of humanity that we deal with on a daily basis as a human being having a spiritual experience, and a spiritual being who's having a human experience. What does that all mean? And how do we handle it all? So, welcome, first of all, to this space. And I'm curious, I just made this connection this morning. I'm very curious about names. And many people ask me about my last name of Bright. Mm-hmm. And they say, was that something that you gave yourself, or was that something that you were born with, or what happened? So I tell the story about that. And the story is that I chose that last name consciously and didn't know what I was getting myself into when I chose that name, but it kind of chose me. And so I said yes to that, moved into that space. Then the energies of Bright came into my world and started teaching me about what that meant. And I made the connection with you. Isn't it interesting that you have the last name of Doubts and you're a resiliency coach?
Yeah.
I thought, isn't that interesting? So tell us about that. Have you ever thought about it first of all? Like, isn't that interesting? And second of all, kind of how do you equate that spiritual connection between the two?
Well, there's a story behind the name. It was not my name. It was my husband's last name. And he was my second husband. And his name was Thomas Doubts. So if you think Carrie Doubts is loaded with kinds of energy, Thomas Doubts, and he was he was an engineer. So he was really hired for his brilliance in solving problems. And he would really look at it through the filter of, I doubt if that would work, so let's find another way, So since I've lost my husband last year, I have been retaking my maiden name again. So I'm now known as Carrie Hopkins Doubts. So I didn't really want to lose that name in terms of, I built my practice and my presence online with that name, but also just bringing back my original essence of Hopkins. And I can't tell you how many people have, upon seeing my last name, is like, well, do you have any doubts? The jokes are fast and furious. And of course, I mean, as human beings, we have doubts about our place in the universe, our place in God's heart. But I don't take a lot of stock with that. It was a name that, my husband, at first I just said, honey, I don't think I'm going to take your last name. And he was hurt. And it meant a lot to him. So I did choose to take on that name. So that's the story of the name, Pat.
I see. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, in my world, there are no mistakes. And so, those things that we call, oh, it just happened to happen. Oh, it was the circumstance of the time. Oh, it was an accident, right? Well, whatever meaning we put behind something is what really creates our experience of it, right? So the fact that you chose to not listen to the whole world of the doubting Thomas and the whole, world of what does that mean and how does that fit into my world really is an empowering way to live so that you don't take it on. And I just got reminded of my maiden name, which was Bye. And so I also got lots of teasing, lots of, lots of nicknames. Pamela Bye Birdie was one, and then really the questioning my sexuality. Are you bi? And I didn't even know any of that world when I was hearing those kinds of things. But people will take on kind of whatever thing that they can, like they'll grab onto it so that they can point the finger somewhere other than themselves, right? Because when we do this and we point out there, then maybe we don't really have to look in here. But guess what? There's 3 fingers pointing back to ourselves. So that's kind of my world of that. But what I really wanted to kind of point a light to is, isn't it interesting how you have taken on this world of transitioning through grief and loss and how to be resilient with that, like how to come out the other side with it. And you don't allow doubt to stop you. So can you speak a little bit into that for us so that people get kind of a picture of what is this work, this sacred work that you get to do now?
Well, I've been doing this work for quite some time. This is, pardon me. Sorry, my dog just sneaked up.
Oh, can't hear you. There we go.
Yeah, she is. There's somebody at the door, so she'll calm down in just a second. So sorry for that. So Pam, I lost track of the question. So,
Okay, so my question is, how do we as a culture or as an individual work through the loss and the grief without letting it stop us in life, and learn how to be resilient in the face of that experience?
it's a great question. It's one that will take some time to answer because grief is something that is the natural reaction to loss, when we lost something important to us. So grief, loss and grief are part of life. We're going to go through that as human beings on the planet. And if we love deeply, we will suffer the pain of grief when that which we loved is no longer with us. And a lot of us don't understand how to support ourselves and others who are going through grief. And part of what it is we don't really understand what grief is and what effects it will have on you. So it's important to understand a few things about grief. That's part of what I do with people right at the beginning, is kind of to normalize their experience, to tell them that what they're experiencing is absolutely normal. They're not growing crazy. They're not broken. So it's really just to normalize. We talk about what are the features of grief and what are you experiencing? And so just to help people just feel a little bit at ease with what it is they're experiencing and stop resisting it in a way. Stop labeling it as something bad. In our society, we're not really taught how to deal with difficult and strong emotions. When we're grieving, there's these myths in a way that get sort of instilled inside of us, unbeknownst to our really conscious awareness. And one of those is like, you should, when you're feeling upset, hurt, when you're feeling these strong emotions, you should really do that, those feelings by yourself. Nobody wants to hear it, and it's like a sign of weakness in a way to cry in front of people or to display your emotions. And so we get this kind of idea of the stiff upper lip, and we just put on a good show for people in our world without really realizing what it costs us to just kind of be inauthentic all the time about how we're feeling.
I agree. I agree totally with that. And that is something that I have watched through the years as I've done my own healing and my own processing with grief and loss, is that as a culture, we tend to, as you said, hide everything. I've watched it in the media. I've watched it on television, when somebody's being interviewed and they get apologetic because they're having a moment of tears, whether it be because of grief and loss or because they're actually happy even and they're having happy tears. People tend to discount that and think it's a weakness. And I'm like, hey guys, that you get to be human. It's a moment of celebration that you're able to do this. How many people do you meet in your profession that have had years and years and years and years of stuffing emotions?
A lot, and here's the thing about when life happens and we lose someone that we love or something that we love, and we are in the grieving process. If we've had other losses in the past, it's not at all uncommon for all of those other unprocessed grieving situations to come up again. And so it's in a way the good news, and in a way it can be very overwhelming for people, because just the sheer not unpredictability of it can really throw people. So, there's, like I said, grief is the natural response to loss, and each person is going to grieve in their own way. Two people can be grieving the loss of the same person. They're going to experience grief differently from each other. And sometimes that's surprising for people. Like, if two siblings lost a parent, it's very common that the two siblings will grieve differently, because there's a few things that impact the nature of your grief, and whether it's going to be like a long lasting experience for you, or whether it's going to be short and rather mild. So it depends on, whether the person, like I said, has experienced multiple losses, and especially in a short period of time. I mean, I deal with a lot of clients who they lost their mother a year ago, and then they lost their father 6 months after that, and then they lost a husband. So it's like, to have multiple losses all at once, that really sets a person back. And also, with each thing or person that we lose in life, there are secondary losses. So for instance, if you lose a husband, you may have to move, you may have to you may lose friends, you may you may have to go out and get a new job, so there's all kinds of losses that need to be also acknowledged and grieved almost separately. So yeah, and also the state of a person's physical and mental health and their capacity for resilience when that loss occurs will have an impact on the way that they grieve. But especially the quality of the support that a person receives is going to play a key role. We just talked about, if you're surrounded by people who are very uncomfortable with your grief and your grieving, that's not going to be helpful for you, because as a grieving person, you need to be able to talk about your losses. You need to be able to show your feelings. You need to be able to be authentic. And if you don't have that kind of support, it's important to find it somewhere else.
Absolutely. I totally believe that. And one of the things that I talk about in the Empower Me show is support is everywhere. Support is everywhere. If you're not receiving it in your physical life right now with the people that are surrounding you, then it's time to reach out in a different way. Yeah. So the fact that we have the internet is a really good example. The fact that we have YouTube and we have Facebook and we have Instagram and we have all these different social media platforms. First of all, there are people like you and I, and there's possible support for you. Okay. But the other piece that I highly recommend, and I talk a lot about this, is getting yourself spiritually aligned with support. And if you have a problem with God, then you need to replace it with a different word. Okay. Allow yourself to explore. Allow yourself to be surprised, right? Allow yourself in that moment of sadness and that gut-wrenching grief to simply say the word help. When you do that, in my experience, when you do that, you are actually reaching out to your spirit guides, to the God or goddess of your understanding, to your totem animals, to your loved pets, to the trees and the flowers and the birds of the air. Everything hears you. So allow yourself in that moment to reach out. So what's your experience with that kind of support?
Well, I have firsthand experience with it, Pam. When my husband died last year, I'm a grief coach, and I've been doing this for a long time. I've been working with people in individual and group settings, and I know the territory, right? So I know how to support people through grief. And losing my husband, and it was a sudden loss. So I really had to walk the territory. I had to walk it, and sometimes on my hands and knees. And there were times when I was so bereft and I felt so lost. that I did reach out, that I did just, God, you know, you gotta help me here, because I don't know if I can do this. And I'll tell you, Pam, it was going through the grief of losing my husband that brought me even closer to the God of my heart, because I know now that I am never alone.
Mm.
I know that it's not just a nice idea. I feel it. I have a relationship with the God of my heart and with my guides, and, you know, all of the spiritual help that's out there, the angels, as you say. We're never alone. And it took me sort of that vulnerable time to where everything just got very quiet and I could really connect and know. It was more than a feeling. It was more than an emotion. It was just a knowing, I'm going to be okay.
Mm.
And
That's beautiful.
That's what got me through it.
That's beautiful. And really, that's sometimes what it takes, is going through something by yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Something that, okay, this, yes, I've heard of that from other people. Yes, I'm supporting other people in that. And, oh, this is happening to me now. Am I ready to walk my talk? I often have that experience myself of, okay, I hear myself talking to a client and I'm hearing what they're going through. And I'm like, I think maybe I better listen to myself, because it's what's coming out of my mouth is some really great support, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes we're the last ones to take our own coaching or our own inspiration, if you will, or our own guidance that we're hearing from above, right? So this is really wonderful, wonderful support that you're giving those that are listening. And we're going to take a break here. We've got a couple minutes that we'll do that. What I want to let you know, folks, is that this, again, is a live call-in show. So if there's anything that you need support in right now, this is the hour to do that. If you're listening, then now's the time to reach out. 1-800-930-2819 is the phone number. And we are here for you, especially Carrie, who is a grief counselor or coach, and here to support you in whatever you're going through. I also will support you as much as I can with what I do, but Carrie is the one that we are highlighting today. So she is here and available for you to help you move through transitions in a way that empower you, because that's what we really, really are focused in on today, is how do we empower ourselves in the midst of loss? So again, please get a hold of us. You can also chat in the chat line on Transformation Talk Radio and let us know that you're listening and that you would like to get some help. And the first person that does that, we actually have a giveaway for you. And maybe you'd like to speak into that, Carrie, before we go on break. What is your giveaway?
Sure. I've created an online course. I have several, but the one that I think is most appropriate for your listeners today, Pam, is my online course called Transitions and Transformations. So it really is a self-paced way to learn about the process of transition. Again, as I shared, sometimes when we're going through something, it really helps to understand where you are in the process, what you can kind of experience as normal, and what's next, what might be, potentially next for you. And so in this course, we talk about the fact that change is something that's external. It happens to us often. And sometimes we decide to make changes as well. But transition is the internal way that we process through change, and we create the life on the other side of the change that we want to be living.
Great. Awesome. Okay. So anyone who wants to receive help today, and even if you think you don't need it, guess what? You can call us anyway. Even if you don't think you need it, you can still receive from us. So allow yourself to receive today, folks. go ahead and look at the phone number on the screen. That's 1-800-930-2819. And we'll be back in just a couple minutes. Welcome back to the Empower Me Show. I'm here with my dear soul sister, Carrie Doubts. She is a grief and loss coach as well as a resiliency coach. And what the inquiry is today is, how in the world do we be resilient in the face of loss? So what does that word really mean as far as a terminology goes? How do we bring resiliency, which is kind of, in my mind, kind of a bouncing back into a different reality or in different experience in the face of what you're going through with grief and loss? Can you talk into that a little bit?
Would love to. And I'm glad you brought up the common definition of resilience is to bounce back. One thing that people discover when they're grieving is your life is not going to go back to what it was. You're not going to put that life back together. There's a gaping hole where that life used to be. And so I call resilience the ability to bounce forward, to learn forward. And so we're not trying to go back and recreate some kind of nostalgic past where we had that loved person or that beloved career or whatever it was that we lost. We're not going to go back to that. So resiliency is really getting very intentional with who you truly are. It's very easy to lose track of who you are when you're grieving. I know for myself, even that I know this, but I experientially, when you are having, sadness, loneliness, regret, fear, anger, anxiety, all of these things all at once, and they make up the part of your day, you think, I'm never going to get over this. This is going to be my life for the rest of my life. And I hear people say that a lot. They start to take on these labels for themselves, like say, I'm depressed. I'm, so on and so forth. So what I really want to stress to all your listeners here is grief is an experience that we go through, but it's not who we are. Who we are at our essence is capable, resourceful, creative, and whole. And that is the source of our resiliency, getting back in touch with who we truly are. And realizing that, kind of like the weather, it could be rainy, it could be sunny, it could be snowing, it's going to change. Our feelings are very much like the weather. We're going to have sadness, we're going to have regret, we're going to have relief sometimes, in processing all of the emotions that I went through when Tom died. Anger was a big one. Anger was a huge one. And I'm not a person who's comfortable with anger. So it was really confronting to me to feel how at the drop of a hat, I would be guns blaring. And, people mean well, right? In your world, they mean to be helpful. But a lot of times you get your toes stepped on when you're grieving. I remember being on the phone, there's the myriad of, when you lose a spouse, and I'll just say from my own experience, if this fits for people, take it and run with it. But my husband was the guy in control of the finances, and he loved it that way. And to the extent that when he died, suddenly I didn't even know his password to his computer, which had all of our financial information on it. I wouldn't say I was 100% clueless on it. I knew where we banked and things like that, but I didn't have access. I didn't even have my own bank account or credit cards, which I discovered. I had to learn a lot about, my financial situation and start to take control of it, because it was daunting, to say the least. And so somebody was trying to help me on the phone with closing an account or opening an account. And Oh, I know it was for the TV, something like that. And I'm not a tech person. That was my husband. And this guy's on the phone trying to help me with a situation. And I've told him that my husband died like last month. He says, well, if we could just get your husband on the phone, I'll be able to help you with that. And
Wow.
I let him have it. I just
Mm.
said, what did you hear me say at the beginning of the conversation? He can't come to the phone because he's dead. I was so mad. I was so mad. And then I cried, and then, it was just so upsetting. And just to feel like you need to be wrapped in bubble wrap to go out into the world, because everything feels like sharp edges that are going to hurt you. So I don't know if that speaks to other people's experience of loss, but especially in those early days where you're kind of traumatized and you're kind of just hanging on, So that was some of my earlier experiences, especially the anger. It floored me how volatile I was.
I got it. I got it. And that's very real. That's very real. And what I want to tell anyone who's listening that's going through this kind of loss, of a spouse, a child, a family member, really anyone that you are close to, that you've had time with, that you're very close to, and they pass, these emotions are very real.
Mhm.
And in the midst of them, allow yourself grace. Allow yourself to feel whatever you feel. And the other thing I want to share is those of you who are listening that want to support them, then by God, listen carefully to what they say. Okay? Because that is another missing piece. And I could do a whole show on this about how often do we get in this mode of, yeah, I heard you. Okay? Thinking that we really heard them, when in fact we really didn't hear them. We heard their mouth move, we heard their words, but we didn't get the meaning into where we live in our bodies. And I've done that. I'm telling you, I've done that with my own husband and my own child, where they're talking, and I think I heard them. And then they ask me a question, and I have no clue what they just asked me because I didn't let it come in to where I live. So it takes two sides of the coin, the listening piece and the speaking from the heart and feeling piece. So both go hand in hand. So in those moments of intense anger, especially because anger is something that we tend to do this to, right? Because it's not proper in our society to show outward anger, right? Or for some people, it's not proper to show outwardly that you're sad, right? What are a couple of different steps that you can offer in the moment for people to hold on to as a way to empower themselves?
Well, you said it very well. We have to accept our feelings. It helps to name your feeling also. Sometimes when you're feeling in the past, I've been somebody who's not terribly connected with my feelings. And so I'd be feeling something and not really even quite sure what it was. So really getting in touch with it, breathing it into your body, letting it be there. Just like, oh, okay, anger, you pretty much know, but sometimes sadness, sometimes disappointment or regret, sometimes those can be a little tricky, but to name the feeling is the first step. And then to express it, either to express it to someone, or I use journaling with both myself and my clients. Journaling was the thing that really saved me as well. Just having that safe, you talked about a safe place. Journaling is your safe space, because you absolutely know that when you sit down to journal and you give yourself permission to say whatever it is you need to say, to feel whatever it is you are feeling, and to meet it with curiosity, with welcome, with compassion, you are creating a safe place for yourself.
Mhm.
So just the fact of, I teach a very specific kind of journal writing, and it's very helpful for people to show up for themselves on the page.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I also learned about journal writing, and it definitely is cathartic. And I also can tell you how many times I resisted writing because this is what happened for me, is that internally, like, that little voice inside of myself knew, it kind of knew that something was going to happen when I started writing. And so I would like do anything other than writing, right?
Very
Because
common.
I wasn't quite ready to feel whatever showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, in 2022, after many, many, many years of processing my emotions and processing life and allowing myself to experience, now it's like I can journal.
Yeah.
I can journal, and I can write my feelings down, and I can kind of document my life, and I don't get triggered as much as I used to.
Well, we're going to get triggered. We're human, we're not perfect, and we're not, things are going to happen in our external world that are just signals and alerts in our system, our whole body system, that there's something that wants our attention. And
Mhm.
so when I work with clients, I do tell them that journaling is part of the process with me. So it is something that you want to commit to. And so I do my journal writing in the morning, and I teach people a way of approaching the journaling so that they're open and that they're ready and they're not resisting. And it has to do with taking 4 intentional breaths before starting. And so it's something I could take you through right now if you wanted to experience the tool. But it's definitely just acknowledging that we're going to resist, feeling and all that. We'd rather not feel these feelings, that's for
Mhm.
sure. But guess what? If the feelings are there, they want our attention. And once they receive our attention and they receive our loving, compassionate listening to them, they tend to shift. It's like a little
Mhm.
kid, a little kid falls down and the child cries, because they've hurt themselves, and you scoop them up in your arms. Oh, okay, where is it? Let's put a Band-Aid on it. And they're crying and sobbing. And then they feel cared for, they feel listened to, they feel honored exactly the way they are, and they dry their tears and they're running off, within minutes. That part of us that also wants to express just wants to be heard. It doesn't want to be fixed. It doesn't want to be managed. It doesn't want to be told, I'll get to you later. It really wants your attention. And our feelings have messages for us if we
Absolutely. Yes.
listen.
Yes. So we actually could do that without, if you people are listening and they have a way to write, then of course get a piece of paper and just listen to what is showing up,
Yeah.
and feel whatever's showing up.
Yeah.
But if you aren't in a position to have a piece of paper and to be able to write, then go through the process with us of the breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you can take a couple minutes and just walk people through this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got the time to do that.
I would love to. So this is, again, it's just to bring our full body awareness in. Our breath is such an important part. It's, inspiration. It's where we bring spirit into our bodies. So just take a deep breath and be with the loss and the grief that you're feeling right now. Just be with it. And then just take in another deep breath and notice, what are the thoughts that come up here? Taking another deep breath and notice the feelings that you're feeling. There's nothing to fix. Just notice what's here for you. And as you are in this space of holding for yourself, for your thoughts and your feelings, just stay in that space. willing, open, receptive. And we're going to take 4 intentional breaths now. And if it helps, you can place your hands on your heart center to make contact with that beautiful heart of yours and that heart energy. And you can take in your breaths as if you were breathing through your heart, breathing in, breathing out through your heart center. And so our first intentional breath is acknowledging. Just acknowledge everything that's here. Acknowledge everything that's happening. And as you're breathing in that first breath of acknowledgement, just allow your body to relax into the awareness. There might be a lot going on for you here. Our next breath is a breath of appreciation. Just appreciating yourself. Appreciating what may be here for you. Maybe it's a pattern that you're not happy with or something that is no longer serving you. Just appreciate the way it has served you in the past. Maybe it's still serving you and maybe it's not, but we want to appreciate it. It got you to here. So you could appreciate your anger. You could appreciate your sadness. You could appreciate your strength of heart while you hold with all of this. And then our next breath is a breath of acceptance. And what that means is we're just letting go of the need to have this be any different than it is right now. Just for right now. It's okay as it is that you're grieving. It's okay that you're feeling this way. And as you let that acceptance flow through your body, you'll notice with the next breath of allowing that energy that's present to become what it wants to become. And we explore that with a few questions. So what's the potential that's starting to unfold for you right now? What wants to happen? What does your grief want you to know? What does your grief want or need from you? These are important questions, and just take a deep breath into your heart to listen for the answers. And then you can take some time to write what comes forward. What is it that you're acknowledging, appreciating, accepting? What is it that you're allowing? And thank yourself for your willingness to go into this sacred space of your heart and experience and meet your grief with compassion, with tenderness. And you may notice as you're being with yourself that something is showing you perhaps the next step for yourself, an action that you can take to support yourself, to move yourself forward. Just let that be what it is. Take a deep breath and listen to the step that comes to you. You may want to write that down. And so to complete this process, let's just take another breath of gratitude. Of gratitude that your body, that your consciousness is such a vast and beautiful place to do this deep transformational work and to receive the grace that's present. Mm-hmm. And so when you're ready, you can come back into this space with us.
Thank you so much for walking us through that process, Carrie, because I know that there are people that did that process with you. And whether you did it through writing or through your own mind, after this episode, you can actually get paper, and I recommend that you do this exercise. And you can go from where you are now with this process and simply allow yourself to journal, whatever it looks like, right? There is no form that it has to take. It could be just stream of consciousness writing, where you're just letting yourself go and write until you're done. Okay. And feelings will come up. Honor those feelings. Allow yourself to feel intensely, because that's your freedom. I promise you. Wouldn't you say that that's the freedom, is allowing the feelings to just be present and acknowledging them?
Totally.
Yes. So if someone wants to reach you and wants to work with you, Carrie, how do they do that?
They can find me on my website at Life's Next Chapter Coaching. And there's contact information there. I would love to connect with anyone who would like to ask any questions, speak to me about what they're going through. I have resources on my website as well. I've written a lot of articles. There's some videos on there. There's also the online courses I shared with you about. And there's also me. And the thing that I want people to understand is, don't try to do this alone. Try to do this on your own. You just get stuck that way. You start bypassing, the really intentional work that can really lead to your freedom in a much faster fashion. So don't try to do this alone. Work with people that get it, that love you, that understand you, and are there and know how to help.
Absolutely. I totally acknowledge that same statement. And those of you who have been following me on this particular show for a while know that I also speak into that, that it's not about doing life alone anymore, folks. Many of us know what it's like to do life alone.
Yeah.
And I give you the heartfelt invitation to love yourself enough to bring in the support that's all around you. It's everywhere, folks. It's everywhere. And I promise you that it will come as long as you open yourself fully and say yes. Even if you can't even do it fully, but you can do it a little bit. A little crack in the armor can allow the sunlight in. So we love you. We are here for you. And if you want to reach Carrie, you can go to
Life's Next Chapter
Coaching.com, right? And you also have a test there, don't you? A resiliency test?
Yeah. There's a very quick assessment people can take to see how you're doing in all areas of your life and your resilience.
Wonderful, wonderful. So go there to reach Carrie, ask her questions, receive her information. You can also reach me at brightbutterflynetwork.com, or you can leave me an email at theempowermeshow@gmail.com. And please let me know that you would like to receive support, or also if you want to be on the show. I'd love to have you. So we got to go. We love you guys, and you are rock stars because you chose this life. So be blessed. Know that we love you. Know that you're right exactly where you belong. So thank you, Carrie, for being on the show. And we will wrap up now. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to the Empower Me Show with Pam Bright on Transformation Talk Radio. Tune in to learn more about living a fully empowered life. Remember that your life is up to you, and you can choose the spiritual path you are on. There is spiritual energy and wisdom in everything and everyone around you. Listen carefully for what the universe is trying to tell you in every moment. you are already being guided along your journey. Call upon your spirit guides anytime you need help with anything. Know that you are safe in every moment, even if it seems that you are not. For more information about Pam Bright, visit brightbutterflyenterprises.com or email theempowermeshow@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening. We hope to see you next week.